Thank you, Antoinette. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the Sustainability Solutions Exchange. My name is Kylie Nisa, one of the founders of WV and Living, most commonly known as Woven Living. I'm so happy to be part of this discussion about the new age of goods and products for conscious consumers, especially because we're going to be joined by an amazing lineup of speakers. Hopefully, the last few days has been a way for you to connect with like-minded individuals and organizations, and has made you think about the way your sector can co-create a sustainable Philippines, be it in business, policy, or even in design. Today, in our session, we're going to be taking a closer look at some of the realistic pain points when we implement sustainability in the way we do business. In the last decade, our global economy has been driven by fast-paced production and consumption in a way that negatively impacts our environment. With the rise of climate change, environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, and resource problems, the topic of sustainable consumption and production has been a mainstay in global policy and business agendas. And while there has been some progress made, we still face many challenges in the way we do business and the way we consume. For example, consumers are more aware of what sustainability is and how important it is, and they're also more conscious of the products that they support. But how can one consume responsibly, especially in the world that we live in and with the options that we have? And how can people afford sustainable goods, especially in third world countries? On the other hand, adjusting to shifting consumer behavior, many businesses have already implemented some sort of sustainability practice, and some even claim to have sustainability at the heart of what they do. But can a business truly be sustainable? And how does a business also ensure that they aren't greenwashing? In the context of the Philippines, how does an MSME compete in this arena? These are just some of the tough questions that our panelists are going to be tackling today. And to start things off, we're going to be listening to our first presenter, Mr. Georg Platzer. Georg is the Market Development Manager of IKEA Philippines and the Store Manager of IKEA Pasay City, which happens to be the biggest IKEA store in the world. Coming from the hospitality business, Georg started his journey with IKEA in a store in Graz, Austria in 1989, and from there touched various functions in 7 different countries and in global assignments for IKEA. In his last assignment, Georg launched the IKEA brand in Croatia. In 2016, he joined IKEA Southeast Asia and came to the Philippines to lead the startup of IKEA Philippines in his role as Market Development Manager. Georg is a passionate retailer with 33 years experience at IKEA, and he has great enthusiasm for home furnishing. He sees people's loyalty as an important asset and pillar to sustainable success. Let's welcome Mr. Georg Platzer.
Good morning, my name is Georg Platzer. I am working for IKEA Philippines, the store which has recently opened here in Pasay City in November 2021. And today I'm here to talk about the healthy and sustainable everyday life. The vision of IKEA is to create a better everyday life for the many people, and the environment, of course, is an essential part of our environment every day. IKEA is the world's largest home furnishing retailer. There's many companies with one brand. We are one of the franchisees among 12 others. We are IKEA Retail, a dozen IKEA franchisees all over the world. We have 12 IKEA stores in 6 markets, 5 IKEA centers, also in the same markets, and roughly 4,300 co-workers working for us. That's just a short introduction. Before we go into the topic of our ambition that we, by 2030, we will make a healthy and sustainable living desirable and affordable in 6 markets that will be home to 480 million people. Today, people with thin wallets have the hardest time to afford solutions for healthy and sustainable living. And we want to change this. We believe that sustainability should be inspiring and affordable for the many, not boring or expensive. We know our customers want IKEA to help make living a more sustainable life affordable, attractive, and accessible. To achieve this, we actively listen to people in each of our markets and work together with others to create meaningful connections and experiences. Here are some examples of how we are doing just that. Our range is our identity, and our design philosophy begins by setting a low price for the product we have in mind. And sustainability is built in from the very start of the process. Our product development team is always looking for ways to conserve resources with customers and the planet in mind. So what makes IKEA products different? It is how we inspire and enable the many to live a better everyday life with the boundaries of the planet. Here are some examples. For example, this is the LED light source, which consumes up to 90% less energy and lasts 20 times longer than any incandescent bulb. As the light can be dimmed, people can also choose the lighting suitable for every occasion, save energy, and lower the electricity bill. The second example is our bath faucet, which is actually helping customers to save water and also energy, because the hot water just works if you turn the lever to the left. And then we have these plant balls in our food offer, which is actually made with pea protein, oats, potatoes, onion, and apple. Has the same taste and juicy bite of a meatball, and the climate footprint is just 4% of the original. By 2025, 50% of the main meals offered at our IKEA restaurant will be plant-based. And we are designing every product from the very beginning to be reused, refurbished, remanufactured, and eventually recycled. By applying our circular product design principles during the product development process, we're also being more mindful, looking through and across our value chain to see not just what can keep costs low, but what can make a better home for the everyday Filipino, what can leave the least impact on the planet. One, by looking for renewable and recycled materials and innovating to do more with less. We can keep costs lower and ensure we can offer the best price to our customers, whether it's about wood, cotton, seafood, coffee, or chocolate. 99.5% of the wood and paper used for IKEA products in our fiscal year 21 was either FSC certified or recycled. 56% of the materials IKEA sourced in our fiscal year 21 were renewable and 70% were recycled. Kungsbacka kitchen fronts are made from recycled wood and recycled PET bottles. Busunge, our extendable bed, can be pulled out as your child grows. And circular shops at IKEA inspire people to refurbish and repair spare parts. In fiscal year 21, IKEA stores worldwide provided more than 18 million spare parts to customers to prolong the life of IKEA products. We are leading with example, and we actually want to partner with everybody who is interested to really contribute to a better planet and a better future. So we're also doing locally support in enterprises. For example, here we have Rags to Riches offering sewing service to our customers just in our store here. We're also investing in response on disasters just right after or death. For example, we have been cooperating with Leader of Light to give some rural communities solar lights. That was a joint activity with our co-workers to basically support Bohol and the Rizal province. And then this is the circular hub where we really give our products a second chance, and we want to save the planet, reduce waste, and of course, save money too. So this is an absolute win-win. So more things remain to be done. Glorious future, to use the words of our own founder, Ingvar Kamprad, and very much looking forward to our podium's discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Platzer. One of the things that stuck with me was when you said sustainable living should be affordable and accessible. And we hope that with IKEA being in the Philippines now, you can encourage more people to live sustainably. So from global to local, our next presenter is from the Philippine Textile Research Institute, or PTRI. It is an agency of the Department of Science and Technology, which Director Celia Elumba heads. And she focuses on textile industry research, development, and collaborations. And they have a Tela Pilipinas campaign. Tela stands for Textiles Empowering Lives Anew. And it's been the banner of PTRI's initiatives and stakeholder engagements in science, technology, and innovation. She's presently the program lead for the PTRI Inclusive Innovation Tela program, which just established the first natural textile fiber blend microscale spinning facility in Region 6. They also just launched the Textile Product Development Center, Perfect Fit, at the DOST PTRI. To understand more about the innovative things that they're doing at the PTRI, let's listen to Director Celia Elumba.
Hi, I'm Celia Elumba, and I'm the director of the Philippine Textile Research Institute. The PTRI is one of 7 research and development institutes of the Department of Science and Technology. We are focused on everything to do with textiles by way of technology, product, process, and system. So let me tell you why we're very interested in natural textiles to begin with. Naturals form the flagship program of the Philippine Textile Research Institute. Naturals mean textiles and dye stuff. And from this, we cover material, process, product, and system. We have over 600,000 hectares to begin with, which are sitting on the ground. Plant-based fibers are also a revealed competitive advantage, a comparative advantage, meaning there is a higher export demand for them, as can be noted in the left-hand chart of a 10-year trade showing the upward green swing. We also have a population of over 110 million Filipinos, and a study indicated that we can only really produce 16% of our textile requirements. Basically, therefore, it means that 84% of what we are wearing are of imported or synthetic origin. This brings us to the fourth motivation. These microfibers contribute to the pollution of ocean waters as well as other bodies of water. We are interested in the 5 bast fibers, which are blended with 2 carrier fibers. This is cotton for the cotton spinning system and lyocell for the long staple spinning system. In the context of sustainability, the materials we are considering are regenerable. 2 of them, in fact, banana pseudostem and pineapple leaves, are agricultural waste and do not take up new planting ground. But while we have the natural textile fiber sources, the supply chain has remained undeveloped. This is where the Institute has put its focus on the development of the textile ecosystem, starting with the conversion of NTFs into input material. And for this, at the heart of the Institute's suite of solutions is a patented pretreatment technology for the conversion of NTFs into intermediate material for yarn spinning or nonwoven production. This may be collectively referred to as Philippine Tropical Fabrics, or PTF, with government, as required by the PTF law, as the primary market. There's also a robust community of designers and social enterprises. Here are some products that have used processing or materials processed at the Institute, from pineapple leaf, abaca, and sugarcane bagasse. In the recent 2022 teleconference, we presented a few of the new material developments. These were rendered by some of the members of the Philippine Fashion Coalition. The sportswear on the left are in 50-50 bandala and lyocell. The workwear on the right made use of pineapple leaf fiber and lyocell. The technology offers climate-positive alternatives in that every gram of cotton that is replaced with NTF means a reduction in water consumption by as much. So the 80 cotton, 20 pineapple leaf, the 30 abaca, and 70 cotton, this mean 20% and 30% reduction in water consumption. Abaca or banana or pineapple leaf or bandala mixed with 50% lyocell will similarly follow. The fabric for leisure wear made use of 70 cotton, 30 pineapple leaf, power loomed into a lightweight material and enzymatically treated. The same yarn was used in the case of the Lakat sustainable footwear shown here, and which was handloom woven this time. The footwear also made use of 100% pineapple leaf non-woven material for the insole. These are good to know, but the road to sustainability has gaps that need to be filled in, starting with the supply chain. A key initiative of the DOSCPTRI is Tela Pilipinas, an advocacy where Tela stands for Textiles Empowering Lives Anew. This is a throwback to a time when textiles constituted a key component of the economy, or any economy for that matter. Excuse me. Tela Pilipinas advocates the integration of the textile ecosystem and promotes value addition at the local level. In this way, the output of the farming sector becomes the input of the textile fiber processors, whose output becomes input to yarn spinners, to fabric weavers, designers, textile product manufacturers, whose output are then used by the community themselves. The goal, in addition to enabling material supply, is to generate higher local value addition where the transformation will be at source by processors and makers who also ideally reside in the location. This slide shows the value transformation of bamboo in the main frame and abaca, banana, and pineapple leaf on the right-hand side of the slide. They all exhibit the check mark indicative of the high change in value which we seek to attain at the local level. Very quickly, allow me to share an example of this ecosystem, or at least an enabling aspect of it. To help jumpstart this, the DOSC supported the establishment of a microscale facility known as the Regional Yarn Production and Innovation Centers, or the RIPICs. The first one was established in the municipality of Niagao in the province of Iloilo with the strong collaboration of the Iloilo Science and Technology University, the DOSC Region 6, the local government of Niagao, and the Iloilo-based social enterprise platform Panublix. The first RIPIC traverses 1,550 kilometers from Niagao to the then sources of raw materials from Camarines Norte and Negros Oriental. The second RIPIC will be established in northern Luzon, centered in Isabela, which will now have a disaggregated textile fiber innovation hub for pretreatment and will be located in Apayao in the Cordilleras and Kawayan, Isabela, while the yarn spinning will be in Ilagan, Isabela. This will be in partnership with the Isabela State University. The footprint is now reduced by 67% to 501 kilometers from Ilocos Norte to Apayao to Kawayan and Ilagan in Isabela. The indications in the map showing Abra, La Union, and Kayangan in the Cordillera are potential areas of future expansion. It becomes very significant given the thousands of handloom weavers in the country. They constitute a backbone in the regions. Simply put, if we can use what we produce and produce what we can use, science, technology, and innovation would have contributed to national economic development made real for us in the experience of some weavers from Niagao who exemplified the idea that if one can weave, there is no need to leave. Hence, a robust textile economy will mean a robust national and local economy. So thank you very much, everyone. We look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Director Elumba. That's a compelling case on how natural textiles can help Philippine businesses become competitive and responsible in their textile supply chain as we shift towards a more circular economy. Our next speaker is another inspiring authority from the Philippine government, Rhea Matute, who is the Executive Director of the Design Center of the Philippines. Prior to this, she was a Deputy Executive Director of the Center for International Trade Expositions and Missions, or CITEM. Rhea is a multi-awarded professional with an established career committed to the pursuit of innovation. She has spearheaded programs that have been instrumental in transforming industries and have become international development templates, particularly in the areas of branding, design management, and the creative economy. In fact, under Rhea's leadership, Design Center of the Philippines received a Merit Award in the Communications Management Division Community Relations category at the highly prestigious 16th Philippine Quill Award for organizing the ASEAN Creative Cities Forum and Exhibition during the Philippines Chairmanship of the ASEAN in 2017. She has also been directly involved in the conferment of her very own Baguio and Cebu as UNESCO Creative Cities for Crafts and Folk Arts and for Design, respectively. Everyone, Executive Director Rhea Matute.
Hi, good morning to everyone joining us here today, as well as to the members of this distinguished panel on the new age of goods and products for the conscious consumer. As part of my sharing of our circular journey at Design Center, I thought it's important to provide some context as to why we do what we do and our perspective on circularity. And that's why I've entitled my presentation, Circularity Begins with Design. Design has been generally or traditionally associated with aesthetics or making things pretty. But in the last 40 years, and most especially the last decade, we have seen the use of design progress from Design 1.0 or traditional design model towards Design 2.0 towards systems, and Design 3.0 towards strategic design, and Design 4.0 towards the use of design and design thinking to address globally wicked problems. This is why design has been critical in the solutions finding discourse, as well as national development agendas of developed nations and developing nations across the world, from countries in the European Union to the Nordic countries, North and South Americas, Japan, Korea, India, and even in ASEAN, with countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and yes, even the Philippines. This is the age of design's new imperative. In fact, in the discussions on sustainability and globally wicked problems, the European Parliament, in a study conducted in 2017 and 2018, determined that 80% of environmental pollution and 90% of manufacturing costs are the results of decisions taken at the product development stage. Given this very compelling data, this is the reason why we wanted to really emphasize the circularity begins with design. Here is a diagram of the Learning Factory Life Cycle Design Canvas that helps visualize the important role of design, as well as the designer, the design team, the chief design officer or design executive officer in developing the products and systems of the future. Not just the role, but it is the responsibility. A responsibility that Design Center, as the Philippines' lone technical agency for design, takes very seriously. Being a responsible designer demands that we do not only design products, but it's also imperative that we design their future. And as we design the future of products, we are likewise reimagining and redesigning production processes, production systems, and the material we use. Since one of the very first important decisions we make as designers is the material we use, it is my privilege to share with you Design Center's Smart Materials program, aimed at utilizing agricultural waste as a source of innovative materials for tomorrow's products. And at the Sustainability Solutions Exchange, we are showcasing the year's work that we have done at Design Center, together with our wonderful team of collaborators on sustainable design by zeroing in on the essential building block of design, its materials. In particular, we are showcasing piñapel, from waste pineapple leaves of commercial or industrial pineapple farms, where 61% of the Philippine pineapple is cultivated, and a crop where the Philippines is the third largest global producer. And the second material we're showcasing is bako, an aquatic plant indigenous to the Philippines, which is considered by locals in Cagayan province as an obstruction to their precious Bangkalao Lake. Let me start off with our piñapel story. This started when a farm in Bukidnon approached Design Center to find alternative use of the pineapple leaves that are left on the farm grounds after the pineapple is harvested. An overlooked raw material, but equally important, the pineapple leaves, as potential additional source of livelihood for farmers and their families. Design Center began its exploration through very basic material manipulation, and through the years became more industrial in its approach. Here is the breadth of intermediary materials developed from waste leaves, ranging from paper pulp to sheets to yarns to biocomposites, as well as some of its applications. Additional applications of the material, the pineapple waste, is also the PALF, as well as a biodegradable film. Our ambition with Pinapel is to give designers an opportunity to work with more sustainable materials from which to develop their products of the future, as well as to provide an alternative from the current usual practice of the Philippines being the source of waste or waste materials and having them processed outside the country and imported back to the Philippines. What we wanted to prove as well is that local R&D, local collaboration, as well as local investment, invigorating the Philippine design innovation ecosystem to think more circular would be definitely a worthwhile investment for the country as well as our development for a more sustainable economy. It is not easy. We're going against a very ingrained linear system where there is an economy of scale and the convenience factor, as well as built-in consumer habits and attitudes. But being sustainable and being eco-conscious means that we must stop the use of irresponsible products or as well as irresponsible materials and systems. And we hope that we will be able to trailblaze into this new economy as well as into this new consciousness. Here's the data on the program of Pinapel and what we are featuring at the Pinapel Pavilion at the SSX. Indeed, we are creating a micro-circular ecosystem of committed as well as very passionate collaborators and looking to scale these innovations and solutions to make sustainability not a luxury, but to make it affordable and accessible. In fact, in the 2020 report by the World Economic Forum, from which a survey of 21,000 people across 28 countries were surveyed, 86% have indicated that they will be looking for more sustainable and equitable products post-pandemic. And of that, 6 out of 10 will change purchasing behavior to minimize their environmental footprint. So headlining Design Center's Pinapel Pavilion is the initial prototype application of Pinapel, which won for Design Center and its partner Ideatex and Cagayan de Oro Handmade Paper the DNAD Future Impact Award for Environment and Sustainability. The DNAD Impact Award is a global initiative and awards program that exists to use creative thinking to drive positive change. And in fact, recently, we've been able to enroll Ideatex and Cagayan de Oro Handmade Paper, as well as one of our collaborators in Pinapel, in a circular design training program. Next is Bakong. Once again, Design Center was approached by the local government unit of Santa Teresita and Cagayan in partnership with the United Nations Development Program to check through our material research group. We were able to find value and application in a plant that was thought of as an obstruction in the local lake. Development of Bakong was approached with a conscious effort on circular design, which includes the Bakong Circular Design Challenge, which saw 3 groups of young innovators work on their Bakong concepts, which are being featured in SSX, along with designs and prototypes from some of the Philippines' leading design innovators. Similar to Pinapel, a series of testings and experimentations were made on the Bakong leaf, from its stems to its fibers, and we are very excited about the development of bioplastic using Bakong. At the SSX Bakong Pavilion, we look to showcase our Bakong journey to date alongside our partners. So this is an example of the work that we do at the material level. Given the importance of design and design thinking in this journey, Design Center is likewise investing in developing the design competencies of Philippine innovators, especially those in the regional inclusive innovation centers, Fab Lab makerspaces, and the Creative Hubs network throughout the country. In partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry Regional Operations Group, as well as the Competitiveness and Innovations Group, and Denmark's The Index Project, we are currently implementing a Train the Trainers program with 30 purpose-driven design innovators looking to use and to teach how design can help develop solutions to real-world problems, locally and globally, with a strong focus on economic, environmental, and social sustainability. We expect to complete this training program by the third quarter of 2022, and we look forward to even larger contributions and larger impact of these 30 innovators into the local design innovation ecosystem, as well as into the local circular economy movement. Lastly, as much investment we are making on material research as well as design competency building, we are committed to elevating the national design infrastructure through the Good Design Award Philippines, which hopes to encourage, once again, the view of design beyond form, function, and innovation to include its ability to address as well as to impact the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through the criteria of malasakit, or the Philippine value of compassion. We had our first edition back in 2019, where 11 design innovators were conferred the inaugural Good Design Award Philippines. The 2021-2022 Good Design Award Philippines is currently open, with awarding scheduled for June 2022, with our partners, the ASEAN Japan Center, as well as the Japan Institute for Design Promotion. We are open for submission of entries until end of March. For further information, please visit our DTI Design Center of the Philippines Facebook page. And that is our circular journey to date at Design Center, alongside our Pinapel and Bacong partners and collaborators. We hope you will visit them at their respective pavilions at the SSX. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhea, for making us aware of these Philippine-made and Philippine-developed examples. We're very inspired by this, and now that we know about this, we hope that more of these kinds of initiatives will spring forth, especially now that we have the SSX platform. Up next, we'll be hearing from the youth sector as represented by Ms. Bala Tanjutko of Kids for Kids. It's a 100% youth-led organization that creates creative and safe spaces, both online and off, for the youth to enact change in local communities and ensure that every child has the right to a safe environment. The organization has grown to over 1,500 volunteers worldwide. With the success of Kids for Kids, she co-founded Tayo, a multidisciplinary creative agency grounded on culture and collaboration for positive ecological and societal transformation, and now heads her social enterprise, Retaso, a culture-based waste-led design studio. She has also worked with notable organizations such as UNICEF, Save the Children, WWF, and Oceana. Wow, that's an impressive resume at her age. Everyone, let's now hear from Ms. Bala Tanjutko.
Hi everyone, I'm Bala Tanjutko. I'm the co-founder of Tire Change Agency, as well as Kids for Kids PH and Retaso. And so basically we're all here today to talk about circularity and what does that mean, being a Filipino. And I believe that we have to start with defining what waste is and defining what consumerism is and where did it originate. And so we all know that due to colonialism, we were introduced with this consumer throwaway culture that I think we enjoyed way too much, ignoring really our, innate regenerative culture that we had as Filipinos. We have the basahan, we have, all doormats, we woven from cotton t-shirts. We always reuse our clothes. We never really throw them away because it's either, they become pambahay or like old sleeping clothes and then a rag afterwards. And if we look pre-colonial kind of sari-sari shops, this is what it looked like. And so we just inherently knew how to live with the land and how to kind of give back to the earth whatever we took from it. And so it is kind of a matter of trying to, see the solutions that lie within our culture and kind of go back to our roots and implement that within, the circular model and the product industry as well. And so that's why I really believe that Filipino circularity lies, and it really lies within our culture, because this model is not something new. It is something that we just forgot about. And so when it comes to the youth, what does the youth demand, or how can we better present this concept to the youth on how to kind of purchase better products, quote unquote. And I feel like what I feel like is a better product, or is a circular one, is one that really has a cultural foundation, one that considers both, the environment and the people. Because when you have products such as this, those are the ones that really have purpose, and not just something that is made just to make a profit, but something that goes beyond profit. But I feel like our generation, Gen Z, to generalize, is very well versed in what we demand, because we are really, so kind of, we know the realities of the climate crisis. We are the generation that is most affected by it. And so we do know the certain products, and that's why I think we're so different, because we have certain different demands, different from other generations, of when it comes to buying product, because we don't really see it as, just getting something that pleases us. It's something that will contribute to our lifestyle, and as well the environment, and as well the people who make it. And so that's why I feel like when we talk about designing out waste, designing products that don't, involve waste, I feel like, that is a really good thing. But because we already have a accumulation of so much waste in our land, it's time we actually also use our cultural foundation and use waste as a resource. And I feel like this is a very important thing to kind of innovate and to expand. And so an example is that what we did with the Rhea, that we collaborated with the local communities in order to use scrap fabric donated by local brands and use plastic waste donated by the community. So bring the Filipino community together in order to create a product that, acts as an alternative to plastic waste, but as well, uses and designs with waste in order to create change. And it's always considering the people. It's always considering how to make it circular. And this is because we don't really see the people as mere players in the model. We see the people as collaborators, as participants. Working with their local community has really helped kind of, even they work with us in the design process or to reiterate it, because they know the skill. It's just a matter of innovating it, expanding it, helping them rethink ways and seeing a future in these local green jobs. And so when we talk about how can one kind of, as a young person, kind of be involved in the circular economy or the circular kind of system, I feel like we shouldn't really view ourselves as consumers, or even we shouldn't allow companies to view ourselves as consumers, because that is just very myopic, passive, and dehumanizing, kind of singling out people or humans as people who just consume products and that's it. But we actually play a really, really big role, especially in this day and age, on how to kind of contribute more to the meaning of products. Someone can just tweet something and then an entire brand will collapse, or someone can tweet something good or like post something great and, it's successful. And so I feel like in this culture, we don't just consume the product, but we gladly participate in it. And so that's why I like using the word collaborator a lot, because we're not consumers, we're humans collaborating within the product industry, within like these things that we transact with. It's not a mere, just a transaction between two people. It's really a collaboration between other people, how we treat the product and how they give it to us. Because how like the end life of that product and how we use it really affects the environment and the people who make it. And I feel like that is something that we should kind of, address in the circular model, is that we should not be seeing it linearly. Like, again, as I mentioned, it's just seeing people as an end consumer, but really collaborators in a circular model that unites both people and planet. And so that's why I always think that, in order to be an activist in all of this, and that's where activism appears, is that because we really act on the change you want to see. And so it's really considering our people, treating them as humans, and really, seeing that the circular model should consider and unite the Filipino community together to connect and bring us back to the reason behind why we do things, is because for our people. And so it's again connecting back to our culture, caring about the climate, and again doing everything because we want to make these people and everyone's lives better. So thank you.
I love how Bella challenged us to rethink our role as collaborators rather than consumers, and how she asked us to remember who we're doing this for and what we're doing this for: the people and the planet. Such a great way to end the presentations and hop onto our panel. I'd like to call back our speakers from IKEA, Design Center of the Philippines, Philippine Textile Research Institute, and Kids for Kids.
Hello, everyone. Hello, ED Matute, Director Elumba, Georg, and Bala. We really enjoyed your presentations. I'm sure it took a lot of effort to compress it, all that information, all your experience in just 6 or 7 minutes. But hopefully we'll be able to expound on it a bit more today in our Q&A in our panel. So as everyone knows, this session, we're going to be talking about the new age of goods and products for conscious consumers. And I prefaced a few tough questions in my introduction a while ago. So I was thinking maybe we can kick off this panel by, starting with one of them. And I think an important thing really to remember, especially as what Bella said, right? Like talking about everyday people, like just really always remembering who we're doing this for, right? And sustainability is often seen as a topic for the privileged. And considering the Philippines population, where majority is from a lower income status, how can we prioritize these vulnerable groups in the creation of sustainability solutions? And then also like help them transition to a circular economy. As I mentioned a while ago, tough question, right? And it could be very broad. And I just wanted to start with this to see if anyone here would maybe want to take a stab at it.
Hi, Kylie.
Hi, Director Celia.
Hi, thank you very much. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to get together. I'm so pleased to be here with you all. I just wanted to really echo something that Bella said, which I think is really good for us to remember. I think we can and must capitalize on our own inherent cultural traits. She talked about us being naturally masino. We care for things. We don't really throw them away. We repurpose tin cans into sewing cans or for keepsakes. So I think that's the first element. Let's take a look at our own values, because we do have very good value propositions. And by capitalizing on that particular element, it would already be a good start. That means, therefore, the education process has to kick in. It means that we have to talk about how we can keep things to last longer, how we can make things that last, and how we can really look for quality versus quantity. And it goes into education and formation and training, but obviously it demands that we as consumers and as Bella had said, collaborators, must demand for a certain standard of how long things can be put in use and what we can do with them thereafter. So as part of that is we look to, again, going back to home economics. I don't know if you guys did this in high school or even in your elementary grades, where we were taught how to sew, how to mend, how to darn, how to put on a button, how to fix your hem. Brands, for example, can also do the very same thing, how to fix the very things that you sell when they get into disrepair. So just a few elements. And I think this will have a real strong buy-in because it's already a natural tendency for a number of us.
Maybe, Georg, would you like to add anything about that? Because I know you also advocate for repair.
Yes, yes, we do. And we do this on a global scale. But I also would like to emphasize again the importance of having circularity and sustainability in your mind from the very beginning when you start designing a product. And that's what IKEA is also doing. So sustainability is an important key element of our design. Our designers, they look really into the entire supply chain. So basically from the raw material all the way to the consumer, and then also even beyond, talking about the second life and making products which are actually reusable, recyclable, or upcyclable, or basically easy to repair. So that's the new direction of IKEA, not only IKEA, I guess, globally. And then it's all about awareness also, talking about conscious consumers, and Bella made a point here. Of course, this generation, the generation Z and the millennials, they are basically being in control soon and taking over the lead for the development of any country, not only in the Philippines. And, you know, this generation is much more conscious, I would say, in their consumption, as we have been when I was like 25 or 30 years old. This is a while ago. We were not talking so much about the environment, to be honest. We also learned how to fix and repair, but somehow we became very lazy, I have to say, at least in my world, and spoiled with all these new things coming to the markets, right? And a lot of that, what we consumed back then, was bad, actually. And that has to change, and IKEA is about to change this. As a global company, a very important player in home furnishing industry, consuming, of course, a lot of resources. And we realized that already 15 years ago. But the journey is a long one, and we keep on going. And by 2030, anything you would buy in IKEA should be made out of reusable or recyclable material. And creating awareness is one of our missions. Since we are having a chance to meet so many people in our operations all over the world, we are now having basically more than 500 stores in 60 countries, and we have contact to 3 billion people a year. So that gives us enormous power to create awareness and, you know, change opinion about consumption. So,
Georg,
yeah.
oh, sorry. Keep going. I can ask the question later after.
No, it's just like, you know, we are a retailer. This is our business, right? We have to be aware that without selling, we would not exist. So I don't deny this, but the question is how we sell it and what we sell. And I think we are very conscious, and we are having a lot of beautiful, you know, examples. I like the raw material you have here in the Philippines, for example, bamboo, and what we just have seen in the videos. This is exactly what IKEA is also doing. We always look for new sustainable raw materials, and then we do it on a very big scale. We are using leftovers of rice industry in India, for example. We are having a fantastic bamboo industry using this fast-growing grass, which is basically right now just in Indonesia and Vietnam. But there's also a future for this in the Philippines. I can see a lot of potentials with water hyacinths, for example, what we're also using for our products. So this is the new way of industry, whether it's textile or home furnishing accessories. And I'm really happy to be part of it. And we are happy to be part of it.
Thanks, Georg. And, you know, I was just going to ask a while ago how IKEA, especially in the Philippines, includes vulnerable groups, and, you know, what their plans is for the Philippines, because you did mention a few interesting examples in Vietnam, Indonesia, and India.
Yeah.
Are there any plans for collaborating perhaps with, you know, the very people who are here, like Design Center, PTRI, for future, you know, maybe raw materials for manufacturing? Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm a retailer. I'm not really in the procurement group. So our purchase organization, they sit actually in Vietnam, but I have been inviting them to come to the Philippines already back in 2017, and we had a very good event together with the Department of Trade and Industry back then, introducing IKEA as a company to interested companies. And I think it was like 60 companies attending back then. And we did this with a purpose, because we are really interested to also produce in the countries where we sell. We do this in so many countries. Basically, in almost every country we sell, we also produce something. And this is a plan, and it should come. And I would be very happy to see that also for the Philippines. We're working on that, and there is contacts with local manufacturers in different areas since 4 years already. And the pandemic was not really good, of course, for this. There was no traveling, for example, possible for last 2 years. But I'm about to, you know, restart that again, and then bring the right people into contact with our designers and our sustainability ambassadors in different parts of our company. And I hope there is going to be a good future also for some products being produced in the Philippines from IKEA side.
Thank you, Georg. And I just wanted to ask Rhea, you had a beautiful, beautiful video about Bakong, and it really showed how you're including not just designers, you're including industrialists, and also as we said a while ago, the community, the grassroots, right? And we were just wondering, how did that happen? How did the connection happen between the grassroots community and Design Center? Was Design Center at the forefront of their thoughts, or, how did things go? Because I guess what we want to know is maybe there are other people here who have some sort of idea on innovating a certain material that's in their local community, and they don't know where to start or who to talk to.
The collaboration with the Laguna de Cagayan, well, before they became a formal cooperative, was really about the community just asking for, like how they can use, this material that they thought of as an obstruction. And, and they just reached out to Design Center, pretty much like the way the Pinapel project came about. So they reached out, and then our team went to Cagayan, to Santa Teresita, and looked at the material, and then just experimented on it. I mean, like it's a long journey. It's just like Georg said, as well as Celia in her Tela project. We started with Bakong. Actually, Bakong was the journey was much longer. I think we started at 2014. At the Design Center, again, just starting with simple handicraft projects using Bakong as a material, and then just really pushed on with getting it to a more industrial, or preparing it for a more industrial kind of application. And like what you said, like what was discussed by Bella and Celia, is really just trying to find a way to get more people to use the materials, so that there's a scaling that happens, and then eventually to make it more mainstream. But again, I mean, you need to involve the community, because you also need to make sure that the sustainability mindset is also there in the way they use the material, the way they use the way they harvest the material. So, providing them with that sustainability mindset is going to be critical moving forward. And the earlier that you get them engaged, makes it really become more embedded in the way they see their businesses, or the way they see their role in the whole circular supply chain.
I love how both, Rhea and Director Celia talked about education, and how that's a really important part of this whole process. And hopefully one day we can have curriculums, right, that have to do with sustainability, just even from the values. It really has to, as you said, it has to start from the values, and then working its way up to actual curriculums where, circular design is part of the, maybe design schools or other kinds of courses. But really interested to know, when we talk about education, we really are talking about the youth. And Bella, we're really interested to understand, like, what's the pulse of the youth now, the Filipino youth, when it comes to like sustainability. We talked about vulnerable groups. We can also talk about those kinds of groups as, in a way, minority groups. And the youth can somehow, the voice of the youth is not exactly mostly listened to, right? If you think about it, it's only now lang when, let's say, like Greta Thunberg started, like her advocacy, and really her voice is so loud, and now the voices of kids are becoming louder. So yeah, let us know. Tell us, like, what's happening now with the Filipino youth, and how can we involve the youth as well? Sorry.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. And I really agree with what the past speaker said, that education is so important, especially when it comes to our culture and our cultural heritage, because it's not being taught in schools. So like for me, they removed history from our curriculum in like the 8th grade, so that's even like before high school started. And I think that's really sad, because it's really important to know your history, to know where you came from, because not a lot of people know that our culture was inherently regenerative. So when the West comes and talks about circularity and regenerative, systems, people think that, oh, they're the ones who kind of made it or discovered it, when it was really like inherent in our culture, and it was something that we already knew how to do. And so that's why it's so easy for communities to pick up how to weave things together, how to make these things out of like different raw materials or like waste that they find, is because we are just innately we innately understood how to like do these things. And I feel like that is something that we should celebrate more, that we should embrace more, and definitely should be included in the education systems, in order for the youth to more or less understand that they should be proud of our culture and how that it is really inherently regenerative. Because if they do understand that, then in the future when they do become designers or even like business people, they understand the basic concepts of sustainability. Because I even feel like when we learned economics the old school way. It was just demand and supply. But imagine if people were taught already about donut economics or about circularity already at like a basic level. They already will have that mindset that everything needs to be holistic. Everyone needs to consider the people from the entry level, and until like the end of the product, and how that we can use that again. And I feel like that is what is so important, and that's why I really believe that education is the starting point of everything. And that's why I agree with the speakers. And so as the Filipino youth, obviously I do speak I acknowledge my privilege and speak on more privileged side, that more Filipino youth at this point are aware of circularity and the things that we demand from products because of exposure on social media. But then as well as I really feel like people or youth in public school should also be taught the same thing, because they're the ones who are going to be feeling the brunt more of climate change and everything that, and they should understand that their lifestyle can be uplifted with what they know about their culture and what they know about weaving and making materials out of things. Because if we give them that perspective of there is a future in green jobs, there is a future in making Tetra Pak bags and making basahans. Like there's a girl who got featured in Vogue for making basahan products. And I feel like we've been doing that for so long. So why don't our own Filipino community get that same recognition, that same, see that same bright future in these green jobs? So I feel like we should also be celebrating that with their people. And so that's why I feel like education really is important. So yeah.
I was thinking about it a while ago when we say that sustainability should be part of our curriculums and core part of our education. I was wondering, and I'm throwing this question to those in the government in our panel. What's I can see that now, because SciTem is also, putting up SSX, and we have the likes of IKEA coming in, and now we also see more and more examples of Philippine-made products and Philippine in industrialization basically of like natural textile or natural materials. And yeah, wondering what, are we in an upward trajectory? Is the government actually really prioritizing this? Because I guess, we talk about responsible producers and consumers, but I also feel that another entity is is really important there, which is like the responsibility of the government to put this as a priority policy and really take action. So are we seeing everything kind of an upward trajectory, or is this sort of like a small bubble only?
Hi, Kylie. Hi. Yeah, I think it's not really yet in the context of something very formal. We are all doing our part in the way that we can do our part, and a lot of that is, first of all, educating our circles of influence, or rather the people that we work with. We do this in many different aspects, many different ways, but it would be wonderful if this can actually be integrated as something that can form part of the system, the formal system. In our own scope, how we do this, you know that education or learning comes in many different levels. There's ladders to this, and it does not all have to be formal. There's alternative, there is that non-formal sector of this, and we're actually in that non-formal aspect of what we're accomplishing. And we do this by, when they tell you there's a story behind everything, and a lot of people will tell you sell product by the stories that you tell, right? Sometimes you think it's really marketing and greenwashing and all that. But at the end of the day, if we can tell our stories authentically, honestly, sincerely, then that's already one way that we can already bring to the fore more values orientation on not just the cultural, the traditional, the artistic input that we apply, but also how this supports the environment, how it mimics nature, how everything really is regenerative. Just the very fact that water that condenses, becomes rain, then comes back down to fertilize everything is already one way that this is being taught, but we're not conscious of it. So when Bella said that it's celebrated in other places, it's because for us it is commonplace, right? But we do have to keep on I guess sort of a commending. We have to keep on encouraging. And certainly it would be good if this can be made formal, rather meaning it is already embedded in the formal educational system. But otherwise, I think all of us as collaborators, as Bella, thank you very much for quoting that, as collaborators have a very, very good position to really do this in a very, how do you say, very normal, ordinary, commonplace way, by the very fact that we advocate, that we talk about it, that we promote it, that we put it in our product, we put the stories and we say how these things are done, and of course, transparency. That's one thing that also can be done. How does the product get developed? How does it get done? What goes into the process? And how will it actually transform itself or affect the soil? How will it become fodder for the next layers of a vegetation? It would be very good to tell those kinds of stories while we still do not yet have it in the more formal aspect of education, I think.
Kylie, if I may add to
Yes,
to what Celia just shared. No? Well, through the design center, because part of our mandate is design education, what we're trying to get people to understand again this design beyond the traditional design of making beautiful products, but really to look at systems and a more strategic view of design. And that's why I shared earlier our program of Design to Improve Life workshop that we're doing with regional inclusive innovation centers, which are embedded in the universities, that we're doing also with innovation hubs, maker spaces. And some of the people that we're training are actually educators, so that they can input that into the curriculum. And we're teaching them how it can get woven into the current curriculum that they have, so that they can have that kind of orientation, not just as educators, but the students that they teach. And this is a train the trainers program. So we're hoping that through this initial program, then there's going to be a ripple effect, throughout the educational system, whether formal or informal. Again, this is a we're starting with some of the universities with the creative hubs, then and their audience is quite diverse, and then we hope that we will be able to formalize it through the first national design policy, so that we can again embed design and design thinking into the curriculum, even at the elementary or the primary school stage. No?
That's actually really inspiring, and I know that I think the creative economy is also becoming a priority as well, right? With the the new bill that's being crafted. So there's a lot of work being done in that sense also. Thank you, Rhea. We have some questions from the audience, and they're very specific to the products actually that you presented a while ago. Let's start with IKEA. So someone in the audience asked, they'd like to know what Philippine-made products will IKEA be selling this 2022? Because they already know that you already selling the Bayong or Eco bag, and they want to know more.
Yeah, that was I would say on a very local based decision that we produce some bags here in the Philippines and sell it. But the challenge is becoming an IKEA supplier means you need to have the scope, the size and capacity to supply the entire world. And that would mean you need to supply 550 stores all over the globe with your products. And that takes time to find suppliers who can really do this. So for 2022, there will be no products sold in the IKEA store produced in the Philippines. That's the answer.
Hopefully we'll have more that we can, possibly work together on, right? Over here.
I get very often the question, when IKEA is going to produce in the Philippines, and I always tell people, and I did this already back in 2017, that we are manufacturing and producing in most of the countries in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and why not in the Philippines? That is something the industry, the local industry, has to find an answer for. The Philippines, if they want to be a manufacturer for the world and producing products, then they have to look at the competition, which is the other countries. I mean, all the countries in Southeast Asia having the same conditions when it comes to growing, for example, bamboo, which is a very fast-growing grass, but they do it in a very sustainable way already since 15 years. In Vietnam, there's 160,000 people working for IKEA producing products made out of bamboo. So there's a big potential, but the industry, the Philippine industry, when they really want to become part of the global supply chain, then they have to consider this is a very competitive market, and other countries are actually doing a sustainable industrial production of furniture already many years. So this is the conditions, what I understand as a retailer, right? I'm just buying products from IKEA supply and I'm selling it here as a retailer. As I said before, these guys, they sit in Vietnam, and they always look for new opportunities and potential partners for the future. And Philippines is on the map, but I also understand there is still many things which remain to be done in order to become a potential and a serious candidate to produce for companies like IKEA in the home furnishing industry.
Wondering if anyone in the panel wants to respond to that. Seems like a challenge that Filipinos are, excited to meet.
Kylie, I know there were suppliers before of IKEA in the Philippines. I guess some of the production was just phased out, or it was discontinued, or they switched to another sourcing country. But definitely, I think green opportunities, or the green economy for Southeast Asia would be very big business. In fact, a Bain & Company study that they conducted, they believe that green economy could generate about $1 trillion of opportunities by 2030. So this is definitely something that we should look into. Seriously look into, and then create again that ecosystem to support these initiatives. And not look at it from a very short perspective, but again, it's really about a long future commitment from both government and the private sector.
Director Celia, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, we are a research and development institute, and I have to tell you that the technologies are available. One of the things that we're looking at is we're not just looking at one aspect of the technology, we're looking at the entire value chain, because we do believe that if you have a gap that is missing, then you cannot have an industry develop from that. So we started with the Regional Yarn Production Innovation Center, and the goal was very simple. It was really an ecosystem at the local level. And what we find is that the tech is already there. We have identified the machines, the equipment. We are looking for private sector partners. But obviously, people come and ask you, okay, where can I buy the product? First question is, who is making the product? So that also echoes back to what Rhea was saying, what George was saying. There is an abundance of raw materials that we can use in the Philippines. We have local technologies available already. Obviously, we need to scale because frankly, we went into the micro scale operation so that we can challenge the supply chain. When you look at the economies of scale, you of course want it to be larger so that your costs are pared down. You're spreading out your costs over a larger production base. But in our particular case, because the supply chain is literally sitting on the ground, we still had to challenge that proposition. And so we have to pull it upwards and push it forward so that we can have the yarns that can then be made into fabric that can then be made into textile finished products. So the potentials are definitely out there. We are looking for industrialists, business people to come on board and take this on as a sustainable business proposition, not a philanthropic, not a social enterprise, but something that will make money because it has to make money. So it is available, and we'd love to be able to share those information ideas with everybody because we do have such a wide possibility for product to be developed in the Philippines. As an example, Bakong Bakong in particular, we were working with the design center because they had asked us for the services part of this, mainly because there is no one who will produce this from the commercial side. There's no private sector partner who's producing this. So they have to go to a government facility to be able to transform the product into a useful material for next iterations of, next whatever the product will be. Now, the design perspective is fantastic. The material development is there. The material is in the lakes, but who's making the material into something that can be made into other products that will be consumer-based products? So that is, I think, what we would like to spread out there. Come out, guys. Let us know who can be, put into place and do this for us because there is so many. George talked about bamboo. Guys, we're looking at already at about 4 bamboo extraction facilities because we're not just talking about woven goods or knitted goods or bamboo for furniture. We're talking about non-wovens. That's a huge market. Non-wovens for filtration in all capacities, all kinds. We're talking about, even your N95 or PPEs that are made of this bamboo is a fantastic material, very high fiber recovery. And it's all over the place. But we do need people who will take this on as a business proposition, not as a social enterprise, although I love the idea, guys, don't take me wrong. I love that it's a social, it's got very good social objectives. The context on the local, regional levels is wonderful, but this is a business proposition. You have to take it on.
Well, going back to, I guess the presentations that you showed us, there are some examples of green products and, as exactly what you said, businesses, industrialists who are willing to try. Would you be able to mention any of the examples or the wins recently?
Well, I have to say that one of the ones that I showed is from an exporter. They're already producing it or selling it to the domestic market, Akanya Kawayan. And theirs was a joint undertaking, a research undertaking on sugarcane bagasse. We've also worked with we have one of our partners here is working on the 70% cotton, 30% pineapple leaves. And this is interesting because he now is adopting it as a technology business incubation program partner. What does that mean? He is taught the technology, his people are immersed in the technology. They are now able to come and use the facilities of the institute as an incubator. They incubate their enterprise in the institute using that particular 70% cotton and 30% pineapple leaf, or it could be abaca or banana or bandala or bamboo. And they can produce it in the facility until such time as they have their own. It's an incubation of a business proposition. And we're also now doing the 100% cotton pineapple leaf non-woven material. They will also be using it. This is creative definitions for Lakat, sustainable footwear, which I mentioned earlier. We will be also having, and I know that Ana Lagon of Abayo is here, but we will also be working with her. She will also be incubating her own business proposition at the Institute. But the goal is that it's wonderful to herald this new breed of woke entrepreneurs or industrialists to go into this. It's fantastic to be able to incubate and to help this come along. But the goal is that the Institute is not looking to do this all the time. We want them to graduate, meaning they should be able to do this on their own outside of the institute, so that we can then accommodate new ones, young entrepreneurs who will be interested to also go into this exercise. So they have to graduate into the next level by having more facilities and having them in different parts of the country. So I am excited to see how this can grow and bloom and blossom in many parts of the Philippines.
So not just talking about industrialists and businesses also, how can we be more inclusive in a way where there are more jobs in the green sector, right? Are there opportunities out there for more green jobs?
You know, the reason that we spoke about that check mark, that value addition, is because we tracked the jobs that are going to be in place. If you're looking at the textile production facility, those are jobs. And then it has to go backward into the community where you now have to extract, to process, to pre-treat, and you have your logistics that are going to be developing and working this along the way. And from there, you will be able to, when you have spun the yarns, you're going to have weavers, you're going to have processors, dyers, people who will now look at the extraction of the material to make them into colorants. Those are a lot of jobs. And if they can happen in the location where the materials grow, can you imagine in the regions how robust that will be? And this is why we were very excited to find out in the experience of Miagao. We had 3 participants. In 2019, one of them was an OFW. He was a seaman. He was thinking of leaving the Philippines again as a seaman. He decided to learn how to weave. And then there was a woman who was working in a factory in Novaliches or Quezon City with 6 children, also going back to the city to do so. Another woman with 2 children, thinking of leaving to be a household helper. In 2019, they decided to learn how to weave. And that was where the context of, if you know how to weave, you don't have to leave. Because in 2020, when COVID hit, guess where they were? In their hometown with their families, staying there. Obviously, COVID did a lot more stuff than was imaginable. But the idea is not all of us will have to weave. The point is, if there is a robust and a strong economy or textile economy, it will follow that you will generate jobs and livelihood and businesses and enterprises wherever they may be. And in the particular case of the Tela Pilipinas, that is precisely the goal. And when you now connect that with Philippine tropical fabrics, I saw that someone was asking about the business study, the economics of this. Yes, every project that we propose, there is a very straightforward market study. I will not be able to tell you that it is really a business goal at level of a business study, but yes, we do that. And we already know that if I just look at the captive market, I don't even have to look at the entire 110 million Filipinos. To begin with, we can only make 16%. Can you imagine 16% of what we need is all that we can produce? And that's a very small number. It's only 6 kilos per person per capita. But when I even just take a look at the 1.7, 1.9 million government employees, that's a lot of meters. And that's a lot of, it will take us 71 RIPICs to satisfy the requirements of government in 1 year's time. I will need 7 commercial meals to do it in 1 year, or 1 commercial meal to do it in 7 years. So there's a lot of business to be had, but it does require
Oh, I think we lost Director Celia.
I'm trying to get back in.
No worries, Director Celia. While we maybe the connection, we can see if it gets better. Maybe we can go to ED Rhea. There was a question in the in the chat asking about bakong in piñapel, bioplastic, and if they're biodegradable. And they're also asking if how they fare as a component of furniture. And then there's actually a lot more questions. Maybe we can start with that first.
Yeah, with the bakong biocomposite, the pellets were produced actually locally with our partner Sentinel, and they're already like using bio-based resin, so that again the environment, the sustainability factor is there, and we are experimenting on using it for furniture, like we did that bench park using the bakong biocomposite. For piñapel, we're using it as pulp, so the application primarily is home accessories, but we've also developed a clothing using woven paper, which is basically an old Japanese craft process, and we produced it in Abra, and the pulp is also being used to create paper sheets that we've woven into baskets, into bags, as well as for macrame, and use it also for some furniture pieces, but like complementing it with other materials, such as metal or wood. But definitely, I mean, there is a possible furniture application, houseware application of both piñapel and bako. Again, it's really up to the designer, to chart the course of how they'll use the bakong, current bakong materials as well as piñapel, and integrating it to their design process.
They're also wondering because they're asking if it's biodegradable and what's the plan for it in their end of life. Like, how can people manage it as waste, or can it be recycled?
Well, that's what that's why we brought in Bio Foundation or Ana Lagon's group into the program, is to really create that kind of end of life process and system into it. The Philippines, in an ADB study, I think is like 6 to 9% circular at this point, no? And definitely there's got to be trailblazers into the program to understand that there has to be a recovery, post-consumer recovery system put into place. And we're very lucky, like to have Anna into the program, because she provides us with that kind of dedication, as well as that commitment, and also that mindset of having that the post-consumer application or even recovery of the products that we'll be doing. But I know there are also other local government units that is putting in that investment into material recovery facilities, and to really be more circular within that local government unit. And we hope that like more LGUs get into that mindset and to that system, and then we're looking to collaborating with them on that.
That's amazing to hear that LGUs themselves are also seeing their place, their role in this, right? And what they can do. There's also an interesting question, and this is for Georg, about about logistics, right? I'm pretty sure that logistics is a huge part also of what you guys do. And someone was wondering about transporting not just from the Philippines, within the Philippines, but also, since you mentioned that some of the products or all of the products are actually from outside of the Philippines, how do you ensure the circularity? Is there such a thing as circularity in logistics?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not a logistic expert. I mean, we get all our goods from a central distribution warehouse. We have two of them. One is in Shanghai and one is in Klang Valley in Malaysia. So the way how it works is that our producers, the industry, they send their products into these distribution centers. And then from there, it's distributed into the different retail markets, respectively to the stores. So we get everything by ship right now. And how sustainable the shipping industry is, you need to ask experts. I know it is much better now. It has been as it was 20 years ago when it comes to energy consumption. So even the ships and the boats, if they are not that old, they are definitely more sustainable and I would say less energy consuming as it was before. In the country itself, from our store to customers' homes, we have started here, at least for Metro Manila, our parcel unit. We have a very good transport service provider on board who is actually very much committed to a better planet as well. And he invested into electric vehicles. So our intention and our plan is that by 2030, 100% of everything we deliver to our customers should be delivered with using electric vehicles. That became now a very hot topic, of course, under the headlines of fuel prices actually not rising but exploding, I would say. Some markets even double due to the first pandemic and now the unfortunate war in Europe. So that's what I can say to transporting. And then the question was how we bring goods to Visayas and Mindanao. We rely on our transport partners, logistic partners who already have a network to go down there because our volume will not be so big, right? Because we are just a retailer. So basically we're gonna join the existing supply chain. But we also hope, and we have talked to our supply chain partners, logistic partners, that they also change mind and invest into the future and into more sustainable solutions rather than diesel and gasoline trucks. But it's all about investment, like you listen to these discussions. First, I think that these companies, they need to make a commitment and then they need to have a long-term thinking, because if they look only in the short-term profitability, then it's going to be very tough to change and invest into new technologies, new engines, new trucks. Other countries have railway systems. In the Philippines, this doesn't exist, right? So when I'm in Europe, I can transport my goods on rails. Here I cannot. I have the roads and I have the Roro way, with the ships from Metro Manila all the way down to Mindanao. It's a very long way, a very long lead time, and that's a challenge of this archipelago because the infrastructure is not in place yet, right? But future looks better, I think. Just takes time.
That's good to know. Sorry, it seems to be we're running out of time, but I want to have the last question for Bella, because Bella, you represent the youth, and everyone here has been talking about what's happening in the present, and the youth is very much worried about the present and the future. So, how do you see what's going on around here, and are you hopeful about what's going on? And what are the youth doing in terms of that whole circularity as well?
Thank you so much for that question. And I feel like, I got really inspired hearing from all the speakers today. And I'm really happy to hear that there is a certain, point of action in the government level towards supporting the creative industries. And I really feel strongly about this because I guess for so long, my family especially, my lolo, who was a national architect for architecture, he has been using natural and regenerative materials, to build homes and everything for so long. So like I grew up knowing that ginit, or like the coconut husk, can be used for wallpaper, and like coconut shells can be used as like really beautiful inlay. And so for me with that, that's kind of more or less how I saw that, oh, like, natural materials in the Philippines can be upscaled. But as someone mentioned, I forgot who, that it was so hard to kind of get the Philippines to be at that global level because we don't have enough people for that. So I really feel like, as a youth, we really feel like it's really important for that to have that government support in order to really uplift our people and to celebrate their cultural skills, in order to provide them these green jobs that can inherently really uplift our creative industries. Because I feel like, the Filipinos are the most creative people. And I really feel like we can be that creative capital for Southeast Asia in order to uplift, these natural materials, and to showing them like the innovation that can bring. And so as youth, I really feel like we kind of more or less see that perspective, and we see the future in our materials, and even with our like cultural skills in terms of waste. There's so many local stores that have popped up over the pandemic, over the lockdown, that the youth led. I know Alyssa Lagon of Tala Amanal, and she's also very amazing in making clothes out of scrap fabric. So things like that, I think we are very, we're looking for that kind of platform in order to create circular products based on Filipino culture and based on local industries. It's a matter of getting a lot of support. And I feel like, hearing from the speakers today, I feel like there is a starting point, and I feel like that we should really be continue going there and really uplifting and upscaling Filipino design into something that is globally known and globally recognized, because that will really benefit not only our economy, but as well our people, if we really do it properly. And that is something that we can be proud of, that we are really practicing something that is circular.
Yes, thank you so much, Bella. That's really very hopeful, and I myself am very hopeful. And so to wrap things up, I just wanted to ask each and every speaker or panelist we have here, can you just mention one win super quickly, one line in the sector, this green sector? Maybe let's start with Georg.
What was the question? One win, or what?
Yes, one win in this sector, whether maybe in the Philippines or even globally.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Let's say, like, is there like a win in the green sector, like any positive things we can say that's happening right now, especially say in the Philippines?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think conscious is increasing, awareness is increasing. When it comes to the future of the Philippines, it's really needed that there's a lot of change happening. Whether it's infrastructure, waste management, recycling, the youth have to take the lead here. If there's anything good, then it's the future, I would say.
Amazing, thank you. Director Celia, last word on what is a win in the sector?
I think it's similar, conscious collective consciousness, but for me also it is technology. More people are really looking to adopt technology towards doing a sustainable textile economy.
Amazing. Okay, Rhea.
Again, I mean, I guess it's something about the future, and I like the fact that, I mean, like, like from the work that we do with designers and the designers that we're meeting along the way. I mean, there really is that consciousness to be responsible designers, and designers to not just design products, but they're really designing the future of these products, and just basically designing the future altogether, and that gives me hope.
So much hope really in this panel. And lastly, let's end with Bella.
I think really a win in terms of this industry is really our people, and the passion that they have, and the inherent culture that they have in order to be inherently circular for our future as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This amazing and passionate panel. We had such great insights and discussion. That's all for our session on the new age of goods and products for conscious consumers. We hope we can continue the conversation both online and offline. The organizations that our speakers belong to, some of them have booths in the exhibition part of this platform. So if you'd like to connect with any of them, they're there. So thank you for joining us. Stay with us. Our day 3 has only just begun.